Good morning. This is your Stat Sensei, Mr. Spensei, and this is going to be classwork 2.6 box and stem plots. And this is going to be a long assignment, so we're going to break it into two videos. So the table below contains the heights of random sample of students at Reagan High School. Complete the summary statistics. All right, so we're going to need to input all this data, and we have height, and that's essentially the height is essentially going to be our X. And then here we have the number. This is going to be our frequency. All right. And we'll put this in L2. The height we're going to put in L1. The frequency we'll put in L2 for males, and for females, we're going to put the frequency in L3. Because what this says is, oh, we have 0 males that are 57 inches. We have 0 males that are 60, but we have 3 males that are 63 inches tall. We have 1 female that's 57 inches tall. Here we have at 66 inches tall or 5'6", we have 19 males and 20 females. Okay, so um, that's the data that we have, and it just counts up how many we have. It's not all the students at Reagan, but it's some. So real quickly, let me grab the appropriate calculator, and we need to get this data into the calculator. So once again, we're going to go to Stat, Edit, and I have a bunch of stuff that I don't want in there. So remember, you can just go up to the top, arrow up to the top, press Clear, and press Enter, and get your information in there. And I need to clear out this next column as well. Clear and Enter, arrow up, and I need to clear and enter that. Now I need to enter all that data. Now I've typed it in already, so it'll be pretty quick. But there's, excuse me. So now I have all the heights in L1. And if I scroll all the way down, I think there are 22. Yeah, there's 22 heights. And then I need to put in all the frequency for the males. And then I need to do the same thing for the females. So now that I've typed them all in, and I'm going to clear the rest of the stuff out since I don't need it anymore. When you have multiple columns like this, do not sort. So do not sort, but we have everything in, and I have to say this is part right here is a little bit confusing. We have females first. Well, females we have in L3. All right. So if I want to fill out the female column first, which is what I'm going to do, I'm going to have to use L1 for my X's and my frequency in L3. So now we're going to go press the stat button again, arrow over to the word calc. We want one variable statistic still highlighted, and we want the list, our list right here are our X's. This is our list of X's. Needs to be an L1, so blue 1 if it doesn't say that. And my frequency for females is an L3, so blue 3. So we do want our freq on because we have a frequency here. And for females, I get a sample mean height of 64.19. It asks for the sample size. Well, sample size, please don't forget, is my N. And so N is 142. And matter of fact, that's what we have right here. That's the total. That's my N, or sample size. The next thing it asks for the minimum. Well, we see the minimum is 57. Then it asks for Q1, which is 63. The next thing it's going to ask for is our median. Well, we have to scroll down one, and we see our median, or MED, is 64.5. Then it's going to ask for Q3. We scroll down again, and we see it's 66. Then it asks for our max, and we scroll down again, and we get 72. IQR. Unfortunately, the calculator doesn't give you IQR. You have to remember the formula. And the formula for IQR is Q3 minus Q1. All right. Well, Q3 is 66. Q1 is 63. 66 minus 63, which is what we have here. We have Q3 minus Q1. That gives me 3. So my interquartile range, or IQR, is 3. All right, so now that we've done the females, now we need to go back and do the males. Now, please remember the males' frequency is in L2. So once again, we're going to go to Stat, arrow over to Calc, and our X list. We still want the height, which is an L1, so blue 1 if it's not there. But our frequency, make sure we change it because we're looking for the males this time, and the males are in L2. So blue 2. And when we do that, we find out that we have 67.72 as the average height, or the X bar. And I guess I should mark that out there. This is the X bar. X bar is the mean. It's also the average of the sample. So the average of the sample for males is 67.72, which is a little bit higher than that of the females. The next thing it asks for is the sample size. Sample size, once again, as I said before, is my N is 125. And that's also what we need down here. We need the 125. That's our N, or sample size. The next thing it asks for is the minimum value, which we see right here is 63. Then it's going to ask for Q1, our first quartile, which is 66. Next, it'll ask for the median, and we see that that's 67 if we scroll down. Q3, we scroll down again, and we see that it's 70, and we find that our max value is 78. The next thing it's going to ask for is our IQR, which is Q3 minus Q1. Well, Q3 is 70, and Q1 is 66, and 70 minus 66 is 4. So what we see here is the males have a little bit more spread in their heights than the females. The females have an IQR of 3, the males have an IQR of 4. Not a whole lot difference, but a little different. All right, next thing it asks for is to calculate the fences. Well, to calculate the fences, I need to know my formulas. And my formula for the fence is, for the lower fence, Q1 minus 1.5 IQR. And for the upper fence, it's Q3 plus 1.5 IQR. And I guess I should put this as an L, and this is a U. This is my lower, and this is my upper. All right. So in this case, for the females, my Q1 is 63. My IQR is, we calculated right here, is 3. And when we do that, when we plug it into the calculator, when we go 63, here we go, 63 minus 1.5 parenthesis 3, close them, equals 58.5. So anybody below 58.5 is an outlier. So we're looking for X values less than 58.5. So anyone less than a 58.5 is an outlier. Then it wants the upper fence. Well, the upper fence formula is Q3 plus 1.5 IQR. And by the way, I'm going to go ahead and highlight the IQR because we're going to keep using it. This value right here shows up there. Also, this 1.5 is part of the formula. All right, that's part of the formula. That comes from the formula. You have to know that. So the next one, the upper fence is Q3 plus 1.5 IQR. Well, Q3 is 66, which we have right here. So this is Q3 plus the 1.5 that came from the formula. And then we have the 3, which is our IQR. So when we look at that and we go plug that into the calculator, and go 66 plus 1.5 parenthesis 3, that equals 70.5. So it's an outlier if X is greater than 70.5. So any female taller than 70.5 is an outlier. Anyone shorter than 58.5 is an outlier. So we need to identify outliers. So on the females, are there anybody less than 58 inches? Well, let's look at the females. Do we have any 57s? Yes. Do we have any 58s? Yes, because anything less than 58.5, and 58.5 is less. So we have 57, and we only have one of those. Not that we have to label one, but we have one at 58. And in this case, we have 4 at 58. So that's 5 females on the low side that are outliers. On the high side, we have a 70. 70 is not an outlier, okay? But 72 is, and we have one who's 6 foot tall, and that's an outlier in height for the females. We're going to repeat the process for the males. We're going to use the same Q1 minus 1.5 IQR. Well, Q1 for the males is 66 minus 1.5. Once again, that 1.5, that's part of the formula. We're going to keep using that value. And in this case, our IQR, which we calculated earlier, is 4. So that 4 is going to keep showing up. Okay? So here we go. $66 minus 1.5 parenthesis 4 is 60. And for the upper fence, we have Q3. This is Q3 right here. And we look and we go, oh, it's 70 plus 1.5 times 4. And we get 76. All right? So that takes care of that part of that. And we should say this, we should make this comment. Any male less than 60 inches is an outlier, and any male greater than 76 inches is an outlier. Okay? So continuing on, it says draw parallel box plots. Well, to draw parallel box plots, I have to push a bunch of buttons, and I got to make sure I have the right calculator. I do. So that's the one with my data in there. And I'm going to go ahead and go to clear screen and clear everything out. Now, this is where we're going to have to pay attention to all the button pushing. We're going to press the blue button and the Y equals. And the reason we're pushing Y equals is it says stat plot, and that's what we want. Okay, ideally all your stat plots are off. Mine are, they say all off. Now I'm going to press enter. And I'm going to arrow to the left so it's flashing on the on. And I'm going to press enter. So now it's turned on. I'm going to drop down and I'm going to select the box plot that shows dots. The one that shows dots will show outliers. I'm going to press enter. Now, my X list, well, we already know our X list is an L1. So blue 1. And I'm going to do the males first. All right, so I do have a frequency. So blue 2, that's males. And then I'm going to arrow down. This doesn't matter what you choose. I don't care about the mark. Press zoom 9. At that point, I have the males, but it really helps to have both the males and females on the same graph. And if you notice the box plot, there's my minimum value, my Q1, my median, my Q3, my max, my minimum, my Q1, my median, my Q3, and this is a max. And we notice that the max in this case is an outlier because it's not connected. So it's not connected, that makes it an outlier. I can use the trace feature and actually get those values popping up at the bottom down here. I know you can't see them, but the values do show up on the bottom of the screen, which is really helpful. All right, we're going to go back to blue stat plot. I'm going to drop down 1 and press enter. Once again, I'm going to arrow over so that the on is flashing and press enter and make sure on is in black. off should not be in black. I'm going to drop down one and select a box plot that has the dots again and press enter. My X list is still L1, but now I want the females, and the females happen to be in L3, so my frequency needs to change to blue 3. All right, once I have that, oops, X list should be L1, blue 1, I have that wrong, and the frequency should be L3, so blue 3. There we go, so we should have L1, L3. We don't care about the mark. We can press zoom, followed by the number 9. And now we have 2 box plots. And the nice thing is, and look, I have my minimum, my minimum, which happens to be an outlier. I happen to have 2 on the low side. There's Q1. That's my median, Q3, and this is my max value. I should say this. This is my maximum value that's not an outlier. So my maximum is actually here. Okay? All right. So the next thing, we're supposed to draw those. Well, what I usually do is I sit there and go, let's do this. Let's draw them side by side. Excuse me. Let's draw them side by side so that I can use it for comparison. Well, let's go down and find out let's go and look what my highest value is. And if I see if I can adjust this just a little bit. Don't know if that helped or not. I'm going to use a trace feature on this top one. My max value is 78. If I drop down and get my minimum of this one, my lowest value is 57. So if I go ahead and count by twos, and the lowest is 57, so we definitely want to start at 56. So 56, 58, 60, 62, count by twos all the way up. And this case, our max value is 78, so we probably need to go to at least 80. So 56 to 80. And when we went ahead to do this, it's like, let's go back to the males. It's like, well, I started off at 63. Well, 63 is going to be between 62 and 64. So I'm going to make this dot right here because that's my minimum. Then I'm going to arrow up and go, okay, that's at 66. So at 66, I need to draw this right here, and I can go ahead and connect that. Then my median is at 67. Well, 67 is going to be between 66 and 68, so it's going to be right about there. And then I go up one more, and I get to 70. So I'm going to draw this line. We can go ahead and make our box. So we're all boxed in. Then I'm going to go up to my maximum value that's not an outlier. It's not really the maximum, it's just the largest value that's not an outlier. And now we can connect that. We're starting to kind of look like a box plot, but we are missing our outlier. So our outlier right there is at 78. Now, we're almost done, but we should graph the lower fence and the upper fence. Well, the lower fence for the males was at 60. So right here at 60, I have my lower fence. So this is my lower fence right here. And then my upper fence, we said, was at 76. So let's draw that. So this is my upper fence. If we notice for the males, we don't have any points below the lower fence. So there's no outliers on the low side for males, but we do have one outlier on the high side for males, right? We have a very tall individual. So that's my male graph. All right, so then we need to do the females. Well, the females, we're going to drop down, use the arrow to drop down, an arrow to the left, and we find our minimum values at 57. So I'm going to go ahead and drop down to 57, make it pretty big so it shows up. Then the next, I have another point at 58 that's also an outlier. Then we're going to skip up to 59, and that's actually connected. So we make that point as well. Then we scoot over and we go, oh, 63. Well, 63 is between 62 and 64. So about here. And we can go ahead and connect that. Then we have our median, which is 64.5. Then we go to Q3, which is at 66. Let me go ahead and box this in. And now that we're looking at the picture, we can sort of see what's going on here. The next female is at 70, or the next measurement is at 70. We now have our box plot, which is good, because that means we're getting close. And then we're going to arrow over and get our outlier at 72. Okay, we're just about done, except we need to put our fences in. The lower fence is at 58.5. So this is 58, that's 60, so that's 59. So between 58 and 59 will be our lower fence. And probably not going to show very well, but I'm going to try to write lower fence. So that's my lower fence for females. Notice it's lower than that for the males. And then we have our upper fence at 70.5. This is 71, so it needs to be between 70 and 71. So this is my upper fence right here, approximately. And then it says compare and contrast the box plots. Well, if I look at this, this one looks like it's stretched to the right a little bit. The males looks to be stretched to the right, all right, so it looks to be stretched to the right. So stretched to the right means it's skewed to the right. The range is the largest value, which is 78, minus the smallest value, which is 63, and 78 minus 63 is 15, so that's our range. Our IQR we calculated earlier, and we said our IQR was 4, but once again, our IQR is just, this is Q1, this is Q3, so 70 minus 66, which is 4, and we have an outlier at 78. Now, please remember, we're supposed to cuss. So do we have center? And the answer is we left off the center, so I need to get this. So I can go back and check. When I go to cuss, I need a center. And it's like, oh, I left off my median, so I need to write that down. My median happens to be at 67. All right, so now we have center. All right. Then we need unusual. Yeah, we have an outlier. We addressed it. We talked about shape, and we've talked about spread, because these two right here, both these two are spread, shape, unusual, and center. Okay? All right, so for the females, when I look at the females, it's like, you know what? This distance, and if I use my little guide right here, almost exactly the same. All right, so it's reasonably symmetric. All right, so reasonably symmetric. Now there are two outliers, and we just said that there are. Now this right here addresses our shape. And since we mentioned the outliers, let's talk about them. We have an outlier at 57. We have an outlier at 58 because it's below the fence and not connected. And we have an outlier at 72. So outliers at that. So this is our unusual. Our range is our smallest value, which is 57. So 72 minus 57. And that's where we get that from. Our largest minus our smallest, 72 minus 57 gives us 15. And our IQR is 62 minus 63, and that's our spread. So all we're missing right here, because remember we have to have cus, all we're missing right here is our center. Well, our center is sitting right here. That's our median, and our median is at 64.5. And we also have that up there. So we need to include our median, which is 64.5. Now we have all of our cussing done. All right. Appreciate you watching. Hope to see you on the next one. Thank you.